Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to do something different today. I have this replica of an old vintage wall phone that my parents got me years ago. I absolutely love this phone, but I hate the brass. And I would like to paint it white to match my decor. Make it more farmhouse, turn the brass into like a metal, vintage, rusted look. So this is going to be a two-part video, and this is part one. Stay tuned, guys. Let's get crafting. So to make this brass look vintage and rusted and dull, I am going to be using metallic, FAUX art, and gunmetal. I am going to be using FAUX or Deco Art Metallic in rich expresso. I'm going to be using apple barrel black acrylic paint, and I'm going to be using Martha Stewart in copper penny. The copper penny or new penny is going to be for highlighting and just like emphasize. You're also going to need some tape because some of the areas I will be taping off, others I won't. So I thought I would try to start with the ringers or the bells on this phone, and that was the easiest to tape off because they were raised, so I knew I could get the tape underneath the bells. And I'm not a very good taper. Ask my husband, he will vouch for that he tapes everything that we paint because I just stink at taping off anything. But I wanted to tape off the bigger pieces of this. The smaller pieces I didn't, because I will be coming back in and painting this phone white. So I knew I could probably with a paintbrush get close enough that the smaller parts I wasn't even gonna bother putting myself through the anxiety and headache of taping. The larger parts that were easy, I did tape. I thought this would be easy with like a makeup applicator to put the paint on. It actually, just a regular small beat up paintbrush worked the best. And when I say beat up, you don't really want to add the paint with a brand new paintbrush. You want something that's been pushed down and smashed and bristly brushes to get that technique, because you don't want a smooth finish on this. You want like a dabbing technique. So I started with the black apple barrel acrylic, and I just went around and gave it a really good coverage of the black. If the brass is showing through, that's okay. There's going to be so many layers of paint on this that a little bit of brass I wasn't worried about. I just wanted that old vintage rustic rusty look, and the brass was just too shiny for me. I'm not a big fan of brass anyway. So I've been brainstorming for weeks of how to make the brass on this look old and rusted, like it's been around for 100 years. This is a replica phone. This isn't a vintage phone. I think actually you could still buy this phone. Not quite sure where, and I'm not quite sure where they got it, but I have seen it when I've searched Google images. This phone has popped up. So start with the black, then I came in with the gunmetal, and I just dabbed kind of like we do on our Dollar Tree DIYs. I did a video where I turned a plastic bucket and made it look like galvanized metal. That's kind of what I'm going for here, because I thought the galvanized metal look would go good with the white foam. So I'm coming in with the gunmetal metallic by FAUX Art and dabbing that on over the black. If you see the paint coming up, just take a hair dryer and start drying it. It only takes like a couple minutes to get this dried where you can start doing the next layer. Ideally, if it's not coming up when you're painting, you want to keep going, because meshing and blending these colors really gives it the look that I was going for, and maybe that you would be going for too. So now I'm coming in with Deco Art Metallic, and it's called Rich Expresso. And this is giving it, I don't want to say the copper look, but kind of a more metallic, burnt copper, not that shiny copper that's on the phone right now. And like I said, just take a paintbrush. If you're more comfortable with a makeup applicator, use that. I just found the paintbrush worked better. Here's a close-up of the bells. Look at the transformation. It's crazy. It looks vintage and old and not shiny brass anymore. I'm really liking how just using paint on the brass is really transforming this. The new penny I'm only using as a highlighter. I'm putting it on the small little circles on the bells and on any screws that I see on the phone just to highlight it. It's a little brighter than the metallic expresso and it really makes certain areas pop. So now on the faceplate, I'm coming in, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not worried about if I hit the buttons, and I'm not worried about the outer smooth edge of the faceplate. I'm focusing on the copper. The paint is going on the other parts too, but that's okay because I'm going to come back in with the espresso and actually go around that outer plate also to blend it in. I don't want any shiny, smooth surfaces on that because they would stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm just doing the black, I'm doing the gunmetal, I'm doing the espresso. Then I'm coming in with the new penny and I'm highlighting the areas. That middle plate, you can see it had like writing on it. I went over it very gently just to make sure it blended in. You can still see what's written on there, but I didn't want any brass or any shiny surfaces sticking out. I wanted it all to look vintage and old. Isn't that transformation crazy? Just with some paint, you can achieve the look of that older, vintage, rusted, been around for 100 years. You can see the difference between the middle piece right there, the original brass, and where I've painted. Such a big difference. I'm loving how this is turning out. So on all of the metal pieces, I repeated the same steps. Started with the black acrylic, came in with the gunmetal, came in with the rich espresso, did all my blending until I achieved the look that I was going for. Then I would come in with my copper penny and highlight any edges or screws with the copper penny. Off camera, I did all of the little screws on the corners. I wasn't worried about taping. As I said in the beginning, wasn't about to tape those little areas. So there was 6 screws and there was 2 hinges that I just went in and painted over with that same technique. Like I said earlier, the smaller areas I didn't tape off, the larger areas I did. So I taped off around this just because it was a nice little box that I could tape, and I used the same paint technique on the handle for the receiver. And I used the acrylic black, came in with the gunmetal, came in with the espresso, blended them all, came in with the copper penny, or why do I keep calling it copper penny? It's new penny, to highlight. This is a two-part series, and yes, you're seeing part one on a Sunday. And I know I changed my upload schedule to Monday and Thursdays, but we had a 3-day weekend, so I was able to craft a little bit more than normal this weekend. And I wanted this two-part series to be back-to-back days, and that is why I am uploading on Sunday this week, so that you can see part one on Sunday, and then I'm going to upload part two on Monday, my normal upload schedule, so that you can watch it back to back and you won't have to wait a few days to see how this project turns out. I absolutely love Trash to Treasure projects almost as much as Dollar Tree DIYs, and I'm so excited to be doing this phone that I've had for years, which I loved, don't get me wrong, but I knew I would love it more if it fit my farmhouse style. So I hope y'all are enjoying this video. If you are, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up, because it really does help my channel out tremendously. Now, if you have one of these phones, you're going to do a lot of flipping while you're painting this. You're going to want to make sure you're getting every angle. I would think that I was painting every single part of the brass, then I would flip it over and find areas I missed. So just keep turning it and turning it until you know that you've covered all of the brass on your phone. And there's a close-up of how that part turned out. It really does look like rusted metal, and I'm loving how just using 3 or 4 different paints can achieve this look. So I'm going to do the same thing, repeat the same process on the little handle on the side. I need to buy one of those fancy heat guns that I see people use in their videos, but for right now, my son's hairdryer will do. So in between, if I saw the paint was coming off, I used a hairdryer to dry it, then went back in and started blending again. And now the last part of this project, all we have to do, I think this is it the receiver? The phone handle? I don't know what the technical term for this is, but the last 2 parts of brass that we're going to be doing. Same technique, same way, but I did come back in with the new penny and I highlighted around the edges where you could see the lines on the circles at the top and the little pieces sticking out. The new penny really does a great job of just highlighting certain areas and really making them pop. And there's a close-up with all of the texture and the paint that I used on there to really make this look like a vintage metal piece. And there it is in a split screen so that you can see how shiny it was before and how rustic and vintage it looks now. I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of this video of how to make your brass look old and vintage and like it's been around for 100 years by just using paint. If you did enjoy the part 1, stay tuned. Tomorrow will be part 2 and we'll see how this turns out when I paint it and distress it. Thanks y'all for joining me. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell so you'll know when I upload tomorrow's video. Stay safe, stay healthy. I love y'all. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye y'all.